Good morning, Rabbi Sai. You got to do it again. The Rabbi Sai wasn't. Liylu Nishmas Moirosi Rusbas Mordechai. Today's shir is sponsored by Moshe and Aliza Zupnick. Liylu Nishmas Miriam Kayla Bas Eliezer Miriam Adler A second yahrtzeit. Mechaneches par excellence, who left a lasting impact on generations of Bnos Yisrael. By Dovid Adress, the one and only Dovid Adress from Staten Island, in honor of Yosef Billyack, for introducing me to Rabbi Gefen's Shabbos Smicha program. The new course starts June 20th. In honor of Rabbi Moshe Hull's birthday, his family are sponsoring a shir in appreciation of the Simcha Sachayim it has provided him, especially during the last year during Corona. Rabbi Moshe Hull's birthday, hear this? What does he look like? I need a picture. This guy. I feel like I know him. I feel like I'm his buddy. I'm his chaver. When it's been that shir is the highlight of his day, wishing Daddy Zay to continue arichas yomim v'shanim, amen. We hope he continues to enjoy the shir through this cycle and many more in good health with only knocks on his children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren. All right. Please mention that people should reach out to Yeshua or Yosef about joining their local MDY WhatsApp groups. Also, remind people to subscribe to the shir on whichever platform they learn with us from. If you are on YouTube, subscribe there. If you are on All Daf, subscribe there. If you are Torah Anytime, Kol Al Shon, the app. Where's that guy? I don't even want to mention his name anymore. Leon Welcher. He's here from South Africa for weeks. I'm going to rat him out for weeks, and he hasn't been to the shir even once. No. He makes an app and then he disappears on us. I want to reach out and thank Yosef Billyack and sponsor today's shir in honor of him. This is from Dovid Adress. Yosef and I, initial conversation, I think about 2 years ago, about bringing coffee to the shir. Little did I know that he's a trader, and eventually introduced me, I stuck that word in, introduced me to Harav Yonason Gefen of Kol Keter Atayr of RBS. What are you doing, Yosef? Only the daf. What are you pushing other daf? Okay, fine. It was a dream of mine to get Smicha and Hilchos Shabbos. You got Smicha there. He got something that I thought I would never do. And I passed my first test today. Oh, wow, beautiful, Mazel Tov. 2 more to go. It would never happen unless I found MDY. Thank you, Hashem, for Rebelli. Thank you, Hashem, for MDY and the MDY Mishpachan. Thank you, Hashem, for introducing me to Yosef Billyack. One more thing, of course. I have to give a big plug to Rabbi Gefen. A new Hilchos Shabbos shir starting June 20th. If anyone is interested in inquiring Smicha and Hilchos Shabbos. Wow, I got blood everywhere. This is more blood. I have to get this off somehow. Okay. Blood for the fake blood. I don't know if it comes out. David Martin says, how can you let the stream end in the middle of the tish? There was a kumsitz, and for some reason the stream went off, but it's on YouTube, I think. Heartbroken. Make sure it keeps running next time. I was enjoying myself so much. Had it on all my monitors. Thank you for very much. Otherwise, I just joined the shir recently, and doing so has invigorated my learning and made a huge difference in my life. Also, thanks to Chad Cornwasser for inviting me to the shir. No thanks to Yosef Billyack. So one email is thanks. For not balance. For not getting me to join a long time ago. I thought we were friends. Great job. You know why? Because he's pushing people to Rabbi Gefen's shir. That's why. Great job you're doing here. You're doing an amazing job. David Martin, Bat Ayin. This is from Avi Gurwitz, the Clifton Yid. Your shir is amazing. A couple of things. First of all, if you check my email from September 22nd, 2020, at 11:48 a.m., I connected Daf Mem Dalet with MDY. I believe you asked the Olam that Mem Dalet stands for offering $100. Well, if you review my email, I think I came up with the concept. Okay, I have to check it out. More with the program is because of the fourth guy that you described this morning that I had a very geschmacked davening just today. By the fourth guy, I'm referring to the fourth category, the guy who goes to the Beis Medrash, who doesn't go to the Beis Medrash, and doesn't learn. The other guy is going to learn because of him. In this case, the guy who goes to shul, but is checking his emails, made me daven much, much better. Wow. So last week, here in shul, this Beis Medrash were very makbid. Most people don't pull out their phones. And there's a guy that nonstop, the entire davening, is messaging, and he was with his fingers like this, not even looking at a guy in jeans. Walked over to him, grabbed his phone, and tossed it 5 feet away. He was disgusted by it. I don't blame him. It's in America, it's normal. Over here, it's not. And it's you think about it. If you went to court, would you do that in front of a judge? If I have friends that met Trump in the White House, you think they would sit there, pull out their phone, and for not a set, they're sitting there like this, they have pictures, videos. That doesn't make sense. It's a shanda. Okay. Court. Yeah. And I just remembered I brought my son once to court in Chicago for a ticket, and he had his hands in his pocket, and the judge ripped him apart. Take your hands out of here. Who do you think you are standing like that in front of me? And that's a bus of a dumb. Yeah. Klal Yisrael is thanking HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and the Chazan is doing the job for us. Okay, so we don't have to say it, but we have to pay attention. You can't go like this. Guy in jeans, not even a Haredi guy with big pace. Right, Gershon? All right, everybody, here we go. Today is Daf Samach Vav. I love that guy. We're smack in the middle of a sugya, in the middle of a line, in the middle of a word. So I'll just repeat so we can start from the middle of the word. Yesterday we had a brisa that says that the goats of Yom Kippur got lost, and you go and you replace them. And then, of course, you found them. So, according to Rabbi Yehuda, they die. The question is why? Why do they have to die? Why can't you use that goat for Yom Kippur, the following Yom Kippur? So the Gemara says, Gzeira, because chata shavar shnasa. Because the concept is that if a chatas is more than a year old, it might come to such a case. Ask the Gemara, what do you mean it might come to a case that the chatas is more than a year old? If you're talking about the following Yom Kippur, it's more than a year old automatically. It's not a gzeira, it might come to it, it is it. So Gemara said, no. According to Rabbi, not necessarily is it a full year. Why? Because from one Yom Kippur to the next Yom Kippur is 354 days. It's possible that this animal was born 8 days before Yom Kippur, because it has to be at least 8 days old. So, and Rebbe says that we base the year on 365 on the solar. So here you have an animal that's slightly less than a year old, like 3 days less than a year old. And in that case, we have to be geyser. Says the Gemara, top of Samach Vav Amud Aleph. By the way, here it goes. Gashmius stuff today. Promise you, we're going to deliver. Here we go. Through for the rest of the Masechta Beis Hashem. Hateinach soyer. Par ma'ikel meimar. A bull, which is 3 years old. So you don't have this concern. Really, Taisus on the bottom over here in Amud Beis asks, well, wait a minute. It's the same idea. It cannot be more than 3 years. What's the difference? Not more than 1 year. There's a limit to its age. Okay, Ayin Sham, two tirutzim and Taisvas. Maybe by the bull it doesn't apply. Okay. Par ma'igel meimar. Gzeira par otusar. Same idea that we had yesterday. We're going to be geyser one because of the other. You're right. The problem is by a goat, but because we have the problem by a goat, we have to say all animals you cannot use. You have to let them die. Ask the Gemara, Mishum Gzeira Yamos. One of the Magishurim put on the chat yesterday. There's a chat from Magishurim. People are not understanding the idea of Yomas. How do you take a goat and put it in a room and let it die? How do you explain it to the Eilam? Well, over here you see the opposite. The Gemara says, how could you kill it? When you have Exeris HaKosov, okay, that's Exeris HaKosov. But how Chacham would never take an animal and let it suffer like that. Mishum Gzeira Yamos. Because you have Exeris, you're going to let it die. V'oid, Chatash Over Shnasa, L'ri Hazla. One of the 5 chatois that die is a chatash over shnasa. It's more than a year old. However, we saw Damer Shlakish chatash over shnasa. It's not true. It's not one of the 5 according to Rish Lakish. It's one of the 5. If you add something to it, it got lost. But if it's just a plain old chatash over shnasa, it's a year and a day. You don't kill it. You pretend that it's standing in the base of kfaras. You can't. The kohen can't get to it. So what do? You let it graze. You don't kill it. Again, we're talking about a you have here a goat that got lost. So you replaced it with another goat and used the other goat. Now what do you do with the first goat? You let it die, according to Rabbi Yehuda. Why do you let it die? Use it next year. Next year is problematic. It's going to bring a takala. Something bad could happen during the year. What is it? So first of all, Gemara says, Snan ein magdishin. You don't do hegdish in our days. We don't have a Beis Hamikdash, so you don't say, oh, this should be hegdish. And then what are you going to do with it? You can't give it to the Beis Hamikdash. That's going to be problematic. That's a takala. Something bad is going to happen. Vei marichin. You don't look at somebody and say, whatever that guy is worth, that's what I want to donate to the Beis Hamikdash. Yes, it is. 3 years ago. It's one of my favorites. I don't have time anymore for cartoons like that. Not that I drew it myself, but yeah. But Yisachar, the truth. If I asked you what's Nerach and Marich, you would remember? Yeah? Okay, Givaldik. You'll never forget it. So that's the point of that picture. Vei machrimim. Machrim is a lashon of hegdish. Again, it goes to bedek habayis l'chayra. B'zman hazeh. In our days, it doesn't work. So if it doesn't work, this is a concept of takala. I want to point out a taisis here. When we were in yeshiva, I don't know for sure, but I felt a lot of times Rosh Yeshiva would learn a Gemara or say over a taisis in order for him to say over the Baruch Ber. It was always like a teretz. Like, it wasn't like he wanted to say the Gemara. He wanted to just agav. He flew through it so he could say the raid. This is mamish the case here. I'm going to be maida. Here, look. It says, Taisis ask Taisis, then why are you talking about in our days? It has nothing to do with our days. You have to be careful that if it's not in the hands of the kohen, then we should have a problem. Maybe somebody's going to be nichshal with it, even in the time of the Beis Hamikdash. So Taisis says at the end, in the time of the Beis Hamikdash, there were many kohanim. And Memela, it's never an issue. Oh, yeah. Okay, I forgot that for the Muncie barbecue, there's 50 people already registered, Baruch Hashem, and today's the last day of registration. They're asking, they don't want to have last second, they want to have all the food ordered and everything so please, don't be a last minute person, try to register, and if you have anything good for me to say tomorrow, I'm looking for a good shtickle. They threw me on they just printed without, there's going to be divrei chizuk. It's probably Pressman who wrote that sign. What? MDY bathing suits. Okay, no, this is a gathering of the Gedusha. What are you talking about? Gartels, the whole thing. Okay, so this is a pet peeve of mine, that it always bothered me that my family has, tradition. We have a yichus all the way to Dovid HaMelech. But when these people, a lot of Bali Tshuva, they come into, 90% of the Bali Tshuva are kohanim somehow. I don't know how that happens. So it says like this. So I got to tell you this joke. There's a guy, an old European Jew, shows up to shul. And the guy goes, is there kohen in the house? He goes, me. So gets the aliyah. So after shul, the Rav goes over to him and says, Yankel, in Europe you weren't a kohen. So he says, yeah, in Europe you weren't a rabbi. Okay, that's one joke. But there's a true story that a guy came to the stipler and asked the stipler, he said, I'm about to get married to a daughter of a kohen. I think I mentioned this one. He says, I'm worried that I'm an aretz who marries a daughter of a kohen, the shidduch doesn't work well, the Gemara says. I know. The stipler said, you know what? You're a yeshiva guy, right? Yeah. So you have more of a chance of being a Talmud Chacham than your Kal's father being a kohen. All right. Anyway. I had it. That's why I brought the Taisis, not because the Kash and the terrorists interest anybody here. All right, Zokti Gemara. Not that we're looking for so much stuff going on in today's daf, on Amud Beis especially. We're coming to a new Mishnah. You see, that's where it all switches. Says the Gemara. Vim higdish v'erich v'echrim. And if you did do hegdish b'zman hazeh, you did do erich and you looked ploini, erki olai, erkoi olai, Vehechrim, and he did chayrim. He said this object should be a chayrim. It should go to the Beis Hamikdash, and there's no Beis Hamikdash. What do? You don't want it to be an issue. You don't want it sitting around your house 20 years from now. Nobody's going to know that you made this chayrim, you made this hegdish, and they're going to use it. B'zman hazeh. What do? Behemot te'alker. If it's an animal, uproot it. Peiros ksus v'kelim yirakfu. If it's something that could spoil, let it rot. Mais uklei metachais, and if it's metal like coins, yoylich liyam hamelach, you should toss it into. I took out the word hana here because we always have yoylich liyam hamelach. Just toss it into the Dead Sea. Ve'ezu ikur, and what does it mean? Uproot an animal. Noyal dels lefanel. The terrible thing that you take an animal, put it into a room, lock the door, and it dies by itself. Says the Gemara, Takala demai. So what are you so concerned over here in our case? You have an animal that you want to bring next Yom Kippur, so you're going to wait 365. What's the problem? Are you worried that somebody might jump in middle of Hanukkah and take it out and be makar of it? We have different animals that graze. We tell the animal, go graze, wait until it befalls a mum. We're not concerned somebody's going to grab it and bring it as a carbon. And this one actually is better. This one, you don't say graze. You just wait 365 days and bring it next year. What's the big deal? And if you're concerned, you might shear its wool and use the wool, and that's me'ilah. So then again, you have the same problem with all animals that you say, let them graze and let's redeem them. We are concerned you might bring it as a carbon. So what's the difference? These guys that are doomed for life, you tell them, listen, you have to graze before a mum. Nobody's going to go and grab that animal. Everybody knows this animal is a puzzle animal. But over here, this is the psychology of human beings. We know it throughout Shas. When you're able to make it a carbon, just you have to wait a few days, that's when it becomes a problem. Then you're not Mesiach Das from it. You're thinking to yourself the entire day, oh, I'm going to bring this next Yom Kippur, and all of a sudden in your mind you forget, and you're going to bring it on Hanukkah. Because it's in the category of a carbon. Once you say this animal is not a carbon at all, let me wait until it breaks its leg. So in your head, this animal's gone, you're just waiting for it to break its leg. You're not going to bring it to the Beis Hamikdash. But an animal that's in the parish of carbon, just when? Next year, that you might forget. You should know that this concept, are we concerned they might come to bring it as a carbon? That's a mechaneches Tanoi. In the Sanya Chada, we say in one place. A carbon Pesach that you didn't bring on the first Pesach for whatever reason, it got lost, you found it later. What do? Sell it to somebody that needs it for a carbon for Pesach Sheni. Somebody that was Tameh, somebody that was out of town, Basheni, and if you forgot to bring it on the second Pesach, you grab the Shana Abba. Here we go again. You can bring it next year. In other words, L'chayra, the Gemara wants to say this, Mandama holds, we're not concerned about a takala. You're not going to shecht in the middle of the year. V'tanya yidach, lo yikrav. And the other Mandama says, no, you shouldn't. Ma'ila b'takala pli. Aren't they arguing in this exact question? Are we concerned that over the year you might shecht it, stam, not as a Korban Pesach? Loi. We're not concerned. Perhaps that's a different machlokes. We don't know for a fact. The same question we had yesterday, we actually started the shir with. Do we count the year 354 or do we count the year 365? If you count the year 365, then you could bring it. Because within 365, it's possible that this Korban Pesach that you were supposed to bring in 2021, I shouldn't say 2021, Tafshin, what is it? Pay what? Pay Aleph. I could bring in Tafshin Pay Beis because it doesn't go by 354, it goes by 365. So the animal's not 365 days old yet. It's possible the animal was born a day before the 14th of Nisan. 8 days before the 14th of Nisan, I should say. So by the time 14th of Nisan came along, he's Roy. And then 354 days later, you want to bring it again. That's if you hold like a Rabbi that says 365. But if you hold like Rabbanan that a year is 354 no matter what, even for Bati Arechaima, then you can't bring it next year. That's why it says don't bring it next year. Says the Gemara, that's not a very good answer. Why? If a person designated money for a Korban Pesach, could you use that money next year? Money doesn't get older. Money doesn't have 365. Money doesn't have. So why is there machlokes in that? But the kala pligi shmamina. Obviously, the machlokes is: are we concerned that something's going to happen to the money during the year? And mela, that's the shayla. So you see, there is a machlokes tanoim if we're concerned about a takala, and it fits right into our sugya. Rabbi Yehuda says that if you have a goat that you didn't bring to Yom Kippur, you should not use it next year. Let it die, because he's concerned with takala. The others, they argue, we're not concerned with takala. The official Mishnah, sponsored, what's the lashon? In honor of the MDY Chevra. Says the Mishnah. So, we're done. We spoke a lot about the blood of the sire, the blood of the bull, and now we're going to the famous sire that we push off a cliff. So the sire is situated opposite the gate where we're going to take him out, and we're going to see it's a pretty far distance. He has to walk him, 10 kilometers, 5 miles, let's call it. 10, 12 kilometers. Yeah, but it's a shayla how many kilometers. Fine. So now the Kohen Gadol comes, and he walks to this goat. He puts his 2 hands on its head, and he says, Vidu v'kacha yomer. Ono Hashem, chatu, avu, pashu. So if you look at the side over here, this is problematic because this is how we want to say it, how the Gemara said that it should be said, because first goes a chet, a shaygeg, then goes a mazid, then goes merid. I do it on purpose. And that's perfect. But that's not how all the other Mishnayos have it. The other Mishnayos have it the opposite. Lifanecha amcha Beis Yisrael. Beis Yisrael. Yisrael. So this goat is a kapara for Klal Yisrael. We'll see in the Gemara. On Hashem, kaperno lachatoyim for the shoygig, v'la avoynas the mezid, v'la pshayim and the merit shechatu v'she'ovu v'she'poshu lefanecha amcha Beis Yisrael kakasu b'saris Moshe avdecha leimor ki vayom azei chaper aleichem l'tareschem. On this day Yom Kippur, there's going to be a kapara mikol chatiseichen l'fnei Hashem titor. You'll be purified. V'koyahanim v'amoimdim v'azara. Woma, are you a chazan? You're a chazan in Yom Kippur? Really? Oh, we have 2 chazanim here. Mendy. I would fire you, actually. I want to hear Mendy. You see what I did here? I fired him so I could hear you, and you're still not going to do it. Absolutely. Okay, fine. Oh, no. Oh, Zief. Right? That's Zief? Oh my gosh, no. It's a Wayu Nusach. Wow. I'm going to get it today. It's a compliment. No, but the Wayu guys are saying, no way is that a Wayu Nusach. All right, v'koyanim v'amoimdim ba'azara kishayu shaymim shema mefoirash shu yoytz mepi kohen gadol hayu koirim umishtachavim v'noiflim al paneim. I'm not going to repeat the story in the churva, but it looks like this. Not the churva, chas v'shalom, the Beis Hamikdash. Everybody's on their face. You ever seen people do this in the Kaisel? The Africans, this is what they do. I've seen it with my own eyes. They come to the Kaisel, they're all out. Here's the Kohen Gadol. I don't know what this must be. I didn't look into this. Is this opposite Shani Connor? I don't know what he's doing here by the corner of the Mizbeach. He's busy here with Smicha, hands on the head of the goat. Everybody's on their face. I would, but the camera doesn't go down this low on the table. Close down share. You do that, bye bye. Baruch Shem Kevoid Machusoi Loilam Vaed. Blessed is the name of the glory of his kingship, Loilam Vaed, forever and ever. Now, as I mentioned yesterday, this is not a chiyuv of the Kohen Gadol. This he could give to anybody, literally even a Yisrael. Hakol kshein lo lichoy. Everybody's mutter to take this goat, have the privilege. Now, I don't know how much of a privilege it is. It's a privilege. It's definitely a privilege. It's a little scary. We're going to see there's a medrash. But wait. Hakol kshein lo lichoy. Ela sha'asu hakoyhanim gdolim keva. The koyhanim gdolim. I should really look with the ches here. Ligar sinin gdolim. Okay, the koyhanim. The Bezdin of Kohanim, says Rashi, they made sure that it never happened with the Yisrael. Even though it's mutter, they didn't allow it. Rabbi Yosef says, look, I could either he's agreeing to this idea, look, anybody could do it. And in fact, I even once saw Arsala do it, Yisrael, and it was Yisrael. It's just Kohanim are makbid that they do it. The Kevesh Osuloi. And this guy bringing it, they made him a special ramp that went from Sharni Connor all the way. This is tens of millions of dollars to build. Why? Mipnei HaBavliim. Remember? Hani Bavloi Tivshoyin. Mipnei HaBavliim. Shoyim etalshim b'saroi v'oimrim loi toil v'tzei. They would rip his hair out. Who? The goat, the kohen. They would rip his hair out and say, let's get going. I need the kapara already. What are you doing? Wasting your time. Go. All right. Bavliim, Baisheni, maybe. We'll see that's not Bavliim, but it makes sense. Yeah. Says the Gemara, V'ilu b'nei Aaron nam kedushacha lo kamar. He says, Beis Yisrael. He doesn't say b'nei Aaron. What happened to the kohanim? Don't they need a kapara? Mantana, Omer Rabbi Yirmiyah like Rabbi Yehuda. This doesn't go like Rabbi Yehuda. The Rabbi Yehuda, Omer yeshlam kapara b'asoyer hamishtaleyach. The kohanim, they don't get their kapara through the par, like the other shita says. According to Rabbi Yehuda, the kohanim get it through the sire. So then why doesn't it say in the Mishnah anything about kohanim? So obviously it's not Rabbi Yehuda. Abai Omar afilu tem Rabbi Yehuda. The kohanim la b'chlal amchi Yisrael. You know what? They're not Klal Yisrael. They're Klal Yisrael. That's what it means. Beis Yisrael means everybody, including kohanim living Yisrael. Mesarai lemishamay lichai. So now the kohen gadol gives it over. He makes a shliach. You take it out. I'm going to continue with the avodah here in the Beis Hamikdash. It would be almost impossible, I guess, for the kohen gadol to take a 20-kilometer trip, 10 kilometers each way, and then continue the avodah. It's very difficult. So somebody else does it. Ish. Lahachshir Sazar. Ish means any man, including a Yisrael. Iti. Shihei Mizuman. Iti is a lashon of Eis. Lasais Lashem. Eis means time. So this guy has to be Muchan lekach me'etmal, says Rashi. He has to be ready to go from yesterday. You can't just throw somebody in there. B'neis. I found this beautiful Zohar. Mamish, beautiful, on Parshas Achrimos, on this pasuk. I guess it's very easy to find if you're looking for it. Look over there. The Zohar says that every person has a certain koyach. So he says, L'mashal Bilam, his koyach was to curse. As soon as he tried to give a bracha, he failed. He says there's a guy from Gush Chalav. His power, every time he gave somebody a whack, it doesn't matter. He hit him on his leg, the guy died. That was his power. Yeah, bracha. Yeah, that's what I said. And in Surya, there was a guy, he says, that everything he looked at, he made an ayin hara. He destroyed things. Until, says the Zohar, maybe he means literally, maybe not, he looked at a guy that was a chash of a person, and because he was a chash of a person, his eye, literally his eye exploded. And then he says, Ish iti, it's a very special person. This guy has a koyach. This guy, they go and with mazalais, they're able to find who this person is. They say, you, this is your job. We found the guy, the one guy in Klal Yisrael. That's his job, to take the Sar Lazazel and bring him off the cliff. That's what the Zohar says. So you see from here, Gevaldik Azach, you see that every person has a certain koyach. He's going to the extremes. The people that could punch somebody in their toe, and the guy peels over and dies. But everybody has a koyach. So we have to find our koyachas. Like, you're not going to stop, you can't just take any random Jew and say, okay, you take this goat off the thing. It has to be ish iti, a special man. No? So you take, each person has their koyach. Like Yeshua is the number one recruiter in the world. Different shiurim try to chop him away. It's Yedua. That's his. Everybody has their koyach, and you have to go delve into your koyach and figure out exactly what it is and go with it. Says the Gemara, va'afilu b'Shabbos. You take this goat even on Shabbos. There's no chilul Shabbos concerns here. Iti va'afilu b'tuma. Oh, and we just turned to Samach Vav on Beis, sponsored Liylu Nishmas Uri Ben Mattisyahu, and for the success in Gashmius and especially ruchnius of his grandchildren. So even if this guy is tamei, as we'll see in the Gemara, we have to, it's Yom Kippur, we need a kapara, we have to throw this goat off the mountain. Says the Gemara, Ish lahachshus hazor pshita. Of course, anybody can take it. Why can't a Yisrael take the goat? Says the Gemara, Mao the same kapara ksiva bay. Look at the pasuk regarding vasara sha'ala olav hagar lazazel. This is the guy we're talking about, lazazel. Throw it off the mountain. Yoma chai lefnei Hashem lechaper. It brings a kapara. So if it's a kapara has to be done with a kohen, maybe even the kohen gadol. Komashmalon, mal the same kapara ksiva bay. Komashmalon Yisrael could. Iti, because it says ish. Ish means no, even though it's kapara, anybody can do it. Iti. What concern do we have in Shabbos? Tchumen is only the Rabbanon. So then what is the concern? What he's not plowing a field, so what exactly is he doing? If this goat is sick, you're allowed to carry on Shabbos. And this doesn't go according to Rav Nosson, because Rav Nosson holds that there's no concern of carrying a live animal or human being on Shabbos. The famous, the Uri Ben Mattisyahu, since a live being could rebalance himself and he helps out in you carrying him, whatever that means, it's a hard concept to understand, but basically dead weight versus live weight, that a live person or animal helps you out, so to speak, in the way you carry it. And maybe you're not over, because to be over on carrying, you have to carry it 100%. Says the Gemara, Afilu Tamer Ibn Asan, Chalashani, we're talking about a sick goat. And a sick goat doesn't have this kind, he's not helping you, he's dead weight. Even though he's breathing, he's dead weight. You see, the idea of Chai Noises Atzmai is not because it's not a ruchnius thing, because he's alive. Because he's helping you out, he grabs onto you, holds onto your shoulder, it's different. You're not carrying the full amount. Amar Afra, from the fact that we need a pasuk to say that on Yom Kippur that falls out on Shabbos, there's no Isser Tiltul. What does that tell me? That there's no Isser Tiltul on a regular Yom Kippur. Because then why does the Torah have to say that there's a Isser, that special pasuk? When Yom Kippur falls out on Shabbos, you're allowed to carry. And what happens when Yom Kippur falls out on Yom Kippur? Yeah. When Yom Kippur falls out on Yom Kippur. Shmuel's here. Shmuel's in the house. When Yom Kippur falls out on Yom Kippur, in other words, when it's not Shabbos, you're allowed to carry Yom Kippur? Yeah. Do you need a pasuk that you're allowed to take this goat outside? No. So then why do you need a special pasuk when Yom Kippur falls out on Shabbos that you're allowed to carry? That tells me that on a typical Yom Kippur, there's no problem to carry, says Rafram. It's only when it falls out on Shabbos there's a problem to carry, and that's why I need a special pasuk to say, if it falls out on Shabbos, you're allowed to carry. But on regular Yom Kippur, that falls out on Yom Kippur, you don't need a pasuk because you're allowed to carry anyway. So I learned from here that there's no hoitzah on Yom Kippur. An Erev is just agav. Yeah, but you don't see that here. We don't see what priority goes where and how it goes where. Why do you need a special? Why do you need a special passage for that? Ve'ein eruv va'itza liyoim hakipurim iti. Afilu b'tumah, like we said before, that even if this tumah you're allowed to bring it out. What's the chiddush? I mean, not the chiddush. What's the halacha? They found Mr. Iti. He is a very special person according to the Zohar Kadosh, and he became Tamei, unfortunately. So I don't know if I finished the Zohar. That's what the Gemara is saying. You can't just replace that Iti guy. He's a very special person. It's only him. So now also, he's Tamei. What do? Mr. Iti comes into the Beis HaMikdash. When he's Tamei into the Azara, meets the Kohen Gadol, because the Kohen Gadol is in the Azara next to the Mizbeach somewhere, facing Shar Nikana. And he goes in there, B'tumah. That's the Chiddush. Iti. No. We just said, Shia Mezuman. He has to be ready from the day before, and you can, from the day before, says Rashi. You can't just bring a guy. That's the whole point. Iti. That's why it says Iti. You can't just bring a guy. According to Rashi, it means you need at least 24-hour notice. You can't just chop a guy. Oh, you know what? Yankel became Tamei. Yeah, you come. According to the Zohar, he explains it why. It's not a guy. There's one special guy in Klal Yisrael that could do it. Sha'alu Rabbi Eliezer. Again, this could be a remes kind of a Gemara, but Sha'alu es Rabbi Eliezer, they asked Rabbi Eliezer a question. Many questions. Now, Rashi explains, the Gemara explains that all the way at the end, the Gemara is going to say that Rabbi Eliezer had a minhag that he doesn't answer questions that he didn't hear from his Rebbe. So if you ask him any question he didn't hear from his Rebbe, he's going to give you some sort of answer. Chala, what if the goat becomes sick? Could I put the goat on my shoulders? He's so strong. He can carry both of us. He doesn't need you to carry him. Kitzer, he avoided the question. Chala, mishalchoi. Now, if the Mr. Iti gets sick, could I send him with somebody else? Both you and I should be in peace. So here's a beautiful example of how the Gemara says this. Rashi just reads it blank. No, nothing. Nothing going on here. They asked him a question. He avoided the question. Peace on you, peace on me, Shalom Yisrael. The Moshe says no. There's a lot of beautiful things going on here behind the scene, and anybody wants to be mine in the whole thing, the whole piece. But I'm taking just this piece over here. He says that he answered them beremes. He's trying to, I can't answer you straight out. Why? Because my Rebbe never taught this to me. However, let me tell you the answer. The answer is, and he says it's based on a medrash that the Chizkuni says, and this is an amazing thing the Maharsha brings, that this man that throws the goat off the mountain, he's going to die this year. They know that he's going to die. They could see. I think that's where the Maharsha says it on the medrash says through Mazalis. They pick a guy, and this Nebuch guy knows he's doomed this year. It's the known thing. Every year that guy dies. So, what? No, they take him because he's doomed. He is doomed. He's going to die this year anyways. That's why they use him. Not because he did it. I don't think that's the pshat. I think because anyway he's going to die, let him take care of it. Right? He has a stage 5 Nebuch, whatever. So, and that's what he's saying. Omar lahem, ehei b'shalom ani v'atem. I hope that we are going to live. In other words, you don't stop pick a guy. You can't just grab a guy. It has to be someone who's going to die. And we are going to live, says Rabbi Eliezer. That's how the Mashal learns that. But I thought it's a very nice idea to know. What happens? You push this goat off the cliff. He goes into the whole thing. Sire is Esav, Esav and taking the Averis and could he shoulder all the Averis of Klal Yisrael and not the whole thing. He flies off the cliff. You look down the cliff. By the way, I'm just remembering now. If you ever watch YouTube, Chas v'Shalom, the Animal Channel stuff, so they have these goats. The what are they called? Mountain goats. And sometimes, like you see, like boom, boom, they fly down the mountain, and they just get up and they keep on going, like a human being would be dead. Whatever. Okay, fine. I ain't chum. I think it was like when the eagle tried to catch, that's what it was. He tried to catch the goat and then anyway, fine. Cliff. But anyways, he's on the bottom. Now what do you do? The chavev loy meis, he didn't die. I guess a regular goat dies. A mountain goat has a special thing. Do you have to go down there and kill it? Omar lehem, Kain, yoivdu kol oivech Hashem. All your enemies should disappear as the goat always dies. It's never an issue. But at the end of the day, Chacham say, if he dies, if he's sick, put him on your shoulders. If the sender, the guy, ET guy, gets sick, then use somebody else. If it didn't die, go down there and kill him. Now, it's very interesting that at the end of the day, we'll see that you're allowed to benefit from the Sarah Mishalech. After it falls and dies, you're allowed to benefit from it. So what happens, you hear this kash from the Michas Chinuch, what happens if you throw the goat off the mountain and he doesn't die? So you run down there and you shecht him. Could you eat its meat? It's a peldig thing. You're allowed to have an offer from it. So now you're eating a Sarah Mishalech that the whole Klal Yisrael got a kapar from. It's kind of gross. Shalos Rabbi Eliezer, Ploini, Ma'ulay Ma'ba. Now, one of Shatim and Rashi's Ploini means Shloim HaMelech. Does he have Olam Haba after Kaloimer Shloim Chata? But at the end of his life, it says that his wives, they stirred him from the way of Hashem. Okay. Amalei, Lo Shaltuni, Ela Ploini. You're probably asking me about Avshalom. In other words, again, avoiding the question, Ma'alatza Roy Kibasa, Kifsa Minari. Are you allowed to save? Is the shepherd allowed to save the sheep from the lion? Rashi doesn't really explain this. Taisa says perhaps it's talking about the story of Bathsheba and David. So David is the Ari, Bathsheba is the lamb, and Uriah is the Raya, the shepherd. So are you allowed to save Shiloh? You see that David HaMelech is about to kill Uriah. Are you allowed to kill David HaMelech? Or he's about to be over with Bathsheba. Are you allowed to save Bathsheba? You're allowed to kill someone that's going to be over on Ezer Shidduch. Malatza Roy Ben Ari. Omelem Leishaltuni Ela Kifsa. Malatza Roy Ben Ari. Omelehem Leishaltuni Ela Roya. Kitzer, avoiding the question. You asked me about this. What about that? This, that. Another question. Mamzer Ma'olei Resh. Could a mamzer have inheritance? So you answer them. Ma'olei Yabim. You asking me about Yerusha? Could he do Yibum? Ma'ol lost this Beisoy. This time a question, not about a mamzer. Do you have to? Could you? We know that we put right when you walk into the house. There's a little simon for Zeichel and Migdash. Could you plaster your entire house? So he tells them, Ma'alas of this kivroi. Could you plaster a kever? Not because he's trying to schmooze them out of the question. It's because he never wanted to answer something. They say, I saw in the Achrayim, Sfasemes, is it because his Rebbe is still alive? Or what about, they discuss, Mashar, I think it is, something that you logically could figure out yourself, perhaps that you could, because you see throughout Shas, that's not a problem. Sha'al Isha Chacham is Rabbi Eliezer, a very wise woman as Rabbi Eliezer. Since everybody was oived, avoid zarah, they did one avera. Miprima emisas and shav. If you look at the psukim, it says vayashkes bnei Yisrael. That's hedroikon. It's a stomach ailment. Simu ish charboy. Some died with a cherev, and then it says vayigoif Hashem and look pasuk chav zayin lamed hey vayigoif is a magefa. So which one? Why were there three different death sentences? Three different things. So Omar lo, ein chachma leisha ala b'pelach. What are you busy with this stuff? So this is what simple pshat is. A woman doesn't have wisdom. Her wisdom is with weaving. Another pshat is that when you weave, he's telling her when you weave, you can't take different size threads to make one string. They have to be the same size. You can't. You're thinking about the bottom line. The bottom line, they were all over the Zara. Yeah, but how did they get there? In order to get there, they got there in different ways. So they can't all be the same punishment at the end. Itmar Rav Levi, and now the Gemara explains. If you shechted for the egel, then that's a chiyuv misa. You get the sword. All you did is hugged and kissed. That's not even that you don't get misa for. B'misa, then you get the magefa. If you thought about avodah zarah in your heart, bidroikoin, that's an inner illness. If there were witnesses and a warning, then you get the sword. If there was Eidim but there was no warning, b'misa, that's the magefa. If you didn't get warned and there's no Eidim, you still chayav misa, but it's bidroikoin. Let's stop over here, even though it's in the middle of a line. Have a wonderful day. Noam, you want to see Shir Malois? Shir Malois, it's about the Noi. I don't know if you're supposed to go down low. I don't know if